All right, let's talk about the Connect module. This is a really nifty product. It's used for a lot of different applications. So the primary use of it is for advanced rooftop control. That's when you pair it up with a Hyperlight, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But by itself, it can also be used for semi-programmable control. So if you have interesting applications where you want to do a bank of exhaust fans or refrigeration monitoring or some level of DOAS control, this device can be fully programmed, unlike a lot of our other devices. So what comes in the box is the Connect module itself. You have two sheet metal machine screws here for mounting to that same bracket that the SmartNode had. And then you also get a DIN rail mounting bracket that mounts to the back of this with a couple of machine screws to attach this to the Connect module. So the Connect module itself, to pull the cover off, it looks just like the SmartNode from the front. It's got the same magnetic cover. The big difference is it doesn't have the antenna, so this does not have wireless communication the same way the SmartNode does. All of the communication here is going to be done through an RS-45 port. So just like the SmartNode, it's got 4 buttons here, up, down, right, left, and then it's got an onboard screen. So depending on how it's being programmed or which application it's being used for, it's going to pick that up and show different things here on the screen. Again, to remove the cover, it's a magnetic cover. There's 4 magnets in the corners. You can set that aside while you're doing your wiring terminations. And we'll start here on the right. So what we have is we've got 4 analog outputs. Those can be used for various things. You can reprogram them however we want to. We've got a 24 volt terminal here. All the 24 volt terminals, again, are going to be shared on this device, just like on the SmartNode or any of our other devices, unless you start pulling jumpers out. On the bottom, you have your POR A and B port. That's for your 2-wire sensor communication. So if you want to use the 2-wire multi-sensor or anything like that, you can use there. We've also got the sensor bus. So that's your 3-wire sensor bus. That's used for legacy sensors or various sensors that still use that plug-in type. We've got 2 relays here that are kind of extra. So you've got 1 and 2 that can be isolated. Typically they're going to share power, but you can isolate those 2 if you have auxiliary devices. Then you've got your electromechanical relays down here for your YWG. So under typical applications, when this is an advanced rooftop controller, these are just going to be a thermostat connection. On the right side, I've got my RS-45. So when this device is standalone, I'm going to use that RS-45 for my communication. And it's typically going to use Modbus, but coming soon, probably by the time you're seeing this, you're going to be able to use that for BACnet as well. I've got a USB-C port just like the SmartNode. Again, it's only used for programming, so you should never have to touch that. And then I've got 24 volts and ground for dedicated power coming in. And then on the top, I've got 8 universal inputs. So any sensor that you want to connect, I can connect up here. And that goes for any resistive-based sensors, if I want temperature, 10Ks, things like that. Or I have analog sensors or dry contacts that I want to read up here on these universal inputs. So when it comes to mounting this device, we've got a couple options. One, we can use that same sheet metal bracket. That sheet metal bracket looks like this, and I've got the 2 screws that look like this that can mount it. So sheet metal screws would go through the hole. There's a brass peg there to keep it intact, and then I would screw it to those nuts on the back. That's one option. And we also have this clip here, which is a DIN rail clip that lines up with this hole and this hole. And I can screw this on back here just like I did the SmartNode. I put those smaller machine screws in there, screw them down, and now I have a DIN rail clip that I could then clip this to. A DIN rail in a panel, or I could clip it to the DIN rail inside a rooftop unit or something like that. When you're done wiring, all you do is you put that snap on there, and you see that there's a little groove here for all your wires to come through to be exposed to the outside. And that's it. Once you're done, that thing would be mounted and wired, and then we'll talk about how programming works in other videos. So So that's the Connect module.